have been traumatized. The reason why the enemy is maximizing off of trauma as opposed to us living healthily with all of our issues is because we ain't dealing with it. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about it. And you could be very present and act like you got a wonderful house and you ain't talking about the deep-rooted stuff that is there. Oh, yeah, there's so many men who are emotionally or who are physically present but emotionally unavailable to those children.
Hey there, I'm Ari, your petite but powerful Kingdom Teaching professor and entrepreneur. I bring the sass, the laughs, and the serious, let's get real and heal moments without any filters. Now meet my mom, Pastor D, the #1 dunamis woman leading our Healing for My Soul movement. As a Kingdom Teaching pastor and life coach, she is unapologetically real, raw, and radical, but she's our rock and the voice of wisdom that we all need. And then there's Allison, fierce yet tender, and the voice for many single mothers. She's the silent heartbeat of our family and will be the first to tell you, yeah, life with these two can be crazy, but I got their back and we're in this together. As a dynamic trio, we spearhead the Healing for My Soul movement, sharing the miraculous healing power of God through our journey, truths, and a little humor as we guide women to pursue healing as a lifestyle so they may experience freedom within their life and legacy.
Welcome to another episode of Healing for My Soul podcast, or Healing for Our Soul podcast. So I just say my because, I need healing for my soul. But today's topic, daddy issues versus daddy trauma. We all got daddy issues, but explain to me the difference.
We all got daddy issues. Why you want me to explain? No, I got you. Issues, first of all, we all have issues. Mm-hmm. Good issues, bad issues, great issues, ugly issues, whatever kind of issues. Issues are not bad. They're not all bad. You know what I'm saying? It's just how do you channel them? How do you use them? You know what I'm saying? I'm even reminded before I go into some other aspects of Proverbs, I think it's 4:23, when it says, guard your heart, because out of that flows the issues of life. So that guard literally means keep my heart, because I understand inside my heart, I have a myriad of issues, faithfulness, fierceness, vitality, violence, just using some words. But they all go together, you know what I'm saying? Because out of that heart flows the issues of life. Trauma comes to hurt you where now it's a shock. This happened to me. This happened to me. And it really never was supposed to happen as it relates to your issues. So now what we have a tendency to do is take that pain of trauma and those inflictions that came from somewhere else, and we trap them. So going back to daddy issues, daddy got issues. He got love. He got joy. He got evil. You know what I'm saying? He got faithfulness. He got violence. We all have that. But when someone has been inflicted by someone else that was not supposed to take place, and you didn't see all of me and my issues, now it becomes traumatic. And that's what we trap. That's what becomes housed in our soul. That's what becomes secret. You know what I'm saying? And they're called trap traumas.
Yeah.
I
remember when we were talking and you were telling us, you were like, oh, you guys have daddy issues. And I was like, no, you have daddy issues. We got daddy trauma. And you were like, no, issues. And I was like, no, there's a difference, right? And so I think, when you, like you said, dealt with something from a traumatic standpoint, based upon that, you carry that within your heart as a woman. And those are things that you've experienced that, like you said, you didn't ask for, but it shocked you in your consciousness. It shocked you in your soul. It shocked you in your emotions. And so now it really causes you as a woman to react in certain ways when you're triggered by that traumatic experience versus issues, that you can carry within your soul. I kind of consider that to be a little bit more, it kind of starts sitting and resting in your soul to where those issues, you start conversating in your own mind, you start conversing in your own emotions, you start bringing those issues into relationships with men, women. That's why you tell other women, well, if he would have did this and they would have did that and da-da-da. So it's like issues, when you have daddy issues, they become really sitting at the seat of your soul and your emotions. But traumatic stuff, it sits at the seat, but it doesn't happen until it's triggered. And it's something that's more, it awakens someone because it's like, where did that come from? And that reaction, that emotional reaction is a traumatic experience. I mean, just think about like someone who has, PTSD or whatever the case may be. If I didn't like hearing a bang on the door, and every time I hear the bang on the door, I'm just like, I'm going to react out of it, right? It's a traumatic thing. But if I have an issue of this door just constantly like being black and I need it to be white, right? I'm just going to constantly walk past that door every day. I'm like, why that door not white? This really irritating me. That door not white. Da da da. Because it just becomes a part of me.
But somebody come kick that door in, it's traumatic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And think about it. Did you have anything you want to add to that before I go?
No.
But I want you all to really think about it because, and even you, man carries the blood. So how can you not be like your father? How can you not have his same issues? So now, if you don't recognize and know how to handle, because it's not that you have his issues as a father, he's a man.
Correct.
So you just like him. Does that make sense? He's just in the position of your father. But if you don't really know how to handle, or he knows how to handle things that happen in his life, that will become traumatic. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's where healing, of course, needs to take place, because even me with our father, I look at him as a man now, just like I look at you. Yes, he's our father. Yes, you are our mother, but I look at man and woman. And maybe that, I mean, that's probably because probably my stuff, looking at me going through my healing journey, raising two girls, and, I'm looking at the father as a man, and I can bash them like, you're not a father because you're not in their lives, or you're not. And I know some people could say, well, Allison, you move far away from the baby's father. But even while I was there, they weren't there. But at the end of the day, I know that they are man, and the man is unhealed and stuff in certain ways. So now it doesn't stop my healing journey.
But how you handle that? If I was to sit up here and tell you, damn it, you just like your daddy, that's trauma.
Yeah.
Who is she supposed to be like?
My daddy.
That's why I tell you, don't you do that shit.
Yeah, and I mean, and
I have
even
to tell you that.
Yeah.
Because you will never see him as a man unless I help you enlighten your eyes to see him as such.
Yeah.
Because who are they supposed to be like? So if you say it degradingly because you're not healed and I'm not healed and I'm still dealing with the trauma of that, I'm going to traumatize you. What I'm really saying is you ain't shit because your daddy ain't shit. How many women say that? Who else they supposed to be like?
Yeah, because I promise you.
Who else?
That Christina. I mean, sometimes I think it in my mind. I don't say it to her, but in my mind, I be like,
because
she just like her daddy. But I want to enlighten the positive of him in her. So she's silly just like him. She, is caring just like him. She, that's all the positive. Even Genesis with her daddy, she, her daddy, he loves to help people. She likes to help people, but I want to bring it out in a positive way,
and that's why
not a negative way. Yeah, and be like, oh, you just like your daddy.
But if you don't deal with not just the healing,
the trauma of what they daddy put me through,
but also the trauma of the experiences with your daddy.
Yep,
everything ain't perfect. So because guess what, you attract your father. The man that you attract has attributes like your father as a man. You see what I'm saying? But the thing is, what we harbor when it comes to daddy issues versus daddy's trauma is that we don't understand who we have attracted to know how to handle them. So now when their trauma come out, you kick yourself. You kick yourself for sleeping with that man that end up getting that child. You kick yourself for being in a relationship with that person that you attracted who is inevitable.
And that's why I thank you for even, explaining that and helping me see that, because out of all the men I slept with, I had to get them to. But that's why I thank you for helping me see my daddy as a man, so I can help them see their daddy as a man. Because even I will tell Genesis, she's 15 years old now, and I tell her, have you called your daddy just to check on him? Don't call your daddy and be like, Daddy, I need money. I need money. I need money. He's still a person. He's a human being. And I hear men say that, like Allison, you actually tell her to check. And I hear some women too, you actually tell her to check on her daddy. Yes, check on him. See how he doing. How's your day going? Then you can slip in, Daddy, I need some money. But first say, you know what, Daddy, how are you? How is your life going right now? Him in a new relationship. And I tell him, I tell her, I say, ask about the girlfriend. Ask about your baby sister. Ask about, that aspect of his life. Because now, no, he is not with us. But that is still an aspect of his life. And the more, you get to know him as a person, then you're able to, not be mad at your dad. I do think my daughters will have daddy issues because of the fact that their fathers are not prevalent. So, of course, they will. And I can just be honest with them, talk to them, let them get it out. But daddy issues definitely is something that may transpire.
Now, I know our episodes are getting gooder and gooder, as my mom would say, but we want to hear from you. So make sure that you are commenting on the episodes, like the episode, and subscribe so you are not missing any time an episode drops on your notifications. So you know what to do. Comment down below, make sure you like, and then subscribe so we know that you're fully in and committed to the Healing for My Soul journey. Now, get back to your good episode.
And how many times have I asked you, Ariel, have you called to check on your daddy? I mean, no. How many times have I said it to you as well?
No, you say it all the time.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
So the reason why you can tell her is because I say it to you. The reason why I say it to you, because you don't have anybody to say it to yet. Daddy issues, daddy traumas is going to continue to perpetuate until we until we understand the difference of an issue versus a trauma.
So what is the difference of issues versus a trauma?
I told you. Issues is the fact that we all have them.
I mean, give me like a real life scenario. Like this is a daddy issue versus this is a daddy trauma.
Okay. So just like I was just talking to your father, it's amazing, as he said and I said, you look like me, but you're so much like him. Your thinking, the way you respond, the way you going to always have something to say, those are predominantly his characteristics, which makes it his issues. But also, too, trauma can take it to another level. You see what I'm saying? No, let me talk. Did you understand what I'm saying? You still going to, issues say, I still going to speak. Issues is going to say, I have a lot of words to say. Issues is, you have a powerful mind. That man is intelligent. That man is brilliant. I tell you now, you would not be able to build this vision if you did not have his mind. You didn't get that on your own. You think it's your own. You got it from your father. That's issues. Those are great issues, but you can utilize them in a way out of the trauma of where you have to self-defend. You have to prove yourself because somebody knocked you, somebody put you down, or somebody just didn't notice it.
Yeah.
This is why even in Proverbs he says, train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they are older, they will not depart. Training is not just sit down, let me discipline you, wash the dishes. That's what we think it is. But seeing your gifts, seeing how much you are like him and cultivating that. And when that doesn't take place, it can become traumatic and you could overly use that even to put somebody else down because it's a brilliance. I would like to think you got it from me, but you got a lot of my attributes. Does that make sense?
Right.
You have a lot of my characteristics. You may have my features, but internally, because man carries the blood, we predominantly carry daddy issues, good, bad, ugly, pretty, all of that. But we all have been traumatized. Because as a black people, particularly, and yes, we here on this podcast is, and no matter what your race or whatever that tribe you come from, in your own way, you have been misused, abused, and traumatically impacted.
And
Rape
I-
is a trauma.
I tell mommy, I'm like, the more healing I'm getting and dealing with myself and understanding myself, I'm realizing, whereas all my life I've heard, you're just like your daddy, you look just like your daddy, and this and that. And I told mommy, I said, I'm actually just like her. I just have, I said, but why she couldn't have daddy forehead? Like you look like mommy, but you act like daddy. I look like daddy, but I act like the better. The fortitude, the strong, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like she said, you have some of the attributes.
But I like
But I can see the more healing, I can see the difference.
But you also have his issues as well.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You got a heart. That didn't just come all from myself. He got a heart. He cares. He cares so much he try to help everybody. Duh. You take in a rat. You know what I'm saying? When you know you can't even afford a rat, you'll still buy a rat.
I took in a dog. I'm trying to give it to him still.
Right. So I'm just saying, and we look at issues because people don't understand. You got issues. You got issues. You got issues. A lot of that is trauma. Because you don't know how to handle the issues. Everybody got problems. Like people want to be, I want a husband. No, what you want is problems. But it's not a bad problem. There's no problem that's bad. It's just that you got to know how to handle it. Life does not ever consist of not having problems. But I firmly believe God gave us the power and the ability to know how to handle problems, issues, all good and all bad, without allowing the trauma to sabotage it and to mess it up. And most people allow the trauma sabotage that good relationship, sabotage that healthy relationship, sabotage where kids ain't coming to tell their parents nothing.
But I think there's sometimes where people can have daddy issues without daddy trauma, though. Like, I think you can have experiences with your dad and you see his issues, you see the things that he carries, within his own shoes, within his own right, and you don't experience trauma, though. Like,
I beg to differ, because depending on who you are, I think, I'm just going to be frank, every black man's been traumatized.
yeah, but I'm talking about as a child. Like, I think, like, I could be with, let's just say I have a dad who was he had an issue. He had a love for money. He always was going after money. He had an issue. He loved money, whatever the case may be. And that's just an issue that I saw, right? And so I adopt that. I picked that up. Or maybe he was an alcoholic or whatever, but he was still important. He was still loving. He was still this. I'm seeing his issues. To me, trauma is where that necessarily something had take place where traumatically it affected me. So let's just say if, my dad was an alcoholic, I'm just making that up, and I'm seeing his issues, but not to the degree where it's affecting me as a child. But then he goes in the car and he gets into an accident and he dies because of driving drunk. That's trauma now. Or my dad actually molests me or raped me. That's trauma. Like, to me, I think sometimes I can have, and this is what we were saying to you, you may have experienced daddy issues, but maybe not necessarily daddy trauma because you didn't live with your dad. And by not living with your dad, there were some things that you didn't create traumatic experience that inflicted you based upon him. Now, traumatic experience could have come from other men, could have come from other relationships, but where was there a traumatic experience where you actually being with him inflicted you from a trauma standpoint versus you saw your daddy's issues of alcoholism, you saw your daddy's issues of, working hard, being good with money, whatever the case may be, you knew of some of those issues, but by not being in his midst, living with him, did you really experience daddy trauma and traumatic experiences that affected you? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think you have to have an experience to be traumatized. Let me just use this for an example where everybody probably will not dismiss this truth. Let me go to David and Solomon in the Bible. David was Solomon's father. You read a lot of the Proverbs 3, where he says, guard your neck with truth. Yeah. So David was very prevalent in Solomon's life. Matter of fact, David didn't build the temple, but his son Solomon did. But one thing David failed to realize was to tell his son, who he was very prevalent in his life, his own lustful issues.
Right.
That's trauma. Because if you're this close to me, or even if you're not with me, I need to know the things that you fought, the things that you dealt with, that if you don't tell me, it could become traumatizing to me. Some of the things you don't share with me, some of the things that I did not see, some of the opportunities that I did not have to be able to sit on his knee, sit on his lap, and he tell me who I am. The issues, the good issues, I battle with lust, daughter. Beware, because it's still in your blood. So for me to find out that on my own, that's traumatizing. What happens if we just sat down? If every father sat down and told their daughter of the good, the bad, and the stuff that come with their own issues. So it won't create traumatizing experiences. For me not to know who I am and to know my struggles that should have came from the man who I came out of his testicles and he ejaculated, and here I am as his beautiful daughter. I need to know.
Right.
Hey, you all. Healing is always needed for the heart of a woman's soul. So that's why I am here to admonish you. Get a copy of the book, Healing the Heart of a Woman's Soul. For over 20 plus years, I have been coaching women to go on their healing journey and walking it out. And you will find this compilation book, your story, your life, because why? All of us are dealing with pain. So go to www.healingformysoulpodcast.com and get a copy of your book today, because one woman's healing is another woman's healing. Now, enough of that. Let's get back to this episode. Why? Because healing is a lifestyle.
So I have a question in regards to my daughters. I'm going to talk about Christina. Me moving here to Georgia from Chicago, in a sense, taking her away from her daddy. And like I said, I'm not like, I don't want y'all to think like, oh, she would never know them, because I do want her to know about her name and, you know, stuff like that. But her not seeing her daddy issues and her grandparents and all of that, and me, I feel like I'm protecting her in a sense. Is that creating daddy issues, daddy trauma?
No, because, everything is traumatizing. Because at the end of the day, he's not stepping up to the plate to be the man and the father, not just the father, the man. The man. There's no way that you could sit there and take care of a man. That's traumatizing right then and there.
Well, yeah.
Allison definitely is housing some trauma that her children's father has inflicted upon her. And she is blinded by it, I do believe, with her children, because she kind of like protects them in ways that doesn't need protection. You know, if she was to face, or shall I say, as she faced that trauma, she will be enlightened to many truths and accept those truths, and most of all, forgive herself. For a woman to sit there and a man lay in the bed and don't pay a freaking bill, that's traumatizing. Let's not even get to the child. So at the end of the day, did you take her away? No. You could no longer
take care of him.
That's all I'm saying. So what else are you going to do? So get that out of your mind that, oh, did I take her away from him? You have to, as most of us out here, be a single mother, because man has been traumatized by not really understanding his father's inflictions. His father's trauma, as opposed to standing up somewhere talking Jesus like ain't nothing going on. Particularly from his childhood. We all have been traumatized. The reason why the enemy is maximizing off of trauma as opposed to us living healthily with all of our issues is because we ain't dealing with it. We're not talking about it. And you could be very present and act like you got a wonderful house and you ain't talking about the deep-rooted stuff that is there. Oh, yeah, there's so many men who are emotionally or who are physically present but emotionally unavailable to those children. So to answer your question, you ain't take her away. You ain't trying to do that. You are doing what most women got to do. Feed her.
Raising her.
Raise her.
Yeah.
But the pure part about your heart is, like I was saying, you're not going to let the trauma of that put her down. when she smiles like him or looks like him or have those attributes. You understand that this is a beautiful seed. If he didn't give you nothing else, he gave you a good seed that you have to now cultivate and understand what you have to break off of her life, because trauma can carry spirits, evil spirits that continue to perpetuate if we don't tell the truth. That's all I'm saying. And in our society, what we do is trying to sugarcoat because of looking good. They got nice clothes. They got a nice house. They got nice this or whatever. And now you get in another relationship and you didn't know that man had all them, not issues, but traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
That came out and knocked you upside your head or called you a B or did all that. That's trap trauma. We all got issues. We're all supposed to live with each other's issues and know how to handle them. Just like I tell women in our emotional healing clinic, oh, I want a husband. God, send me a man. Cool. Let me line 10 of them up. Are you going to look at their features and say, oh, that's the one I want? All right, I want everybody to tell their issues. And you better know which issues you know how to handle.
Right, right.
And it may be the one with 2 teeth and 1 leg. But at the end of the day, go get him some teeth and go get him another leg, because you're the one who was able to handle all of those issues. And we look at the outward appearance. Now, can you handle that trauma too? Because that's why divorce is so prevalent. That's why single parenting is so prevalent. That's why a whole lot of stuff in ours, broken homes. Because we don't know how to not just handle people's issues, we don't know how to handle the traumas. And unfortunately, we trying to make people happy when we're not happy ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want for you all. You gonna make everybody, you was making a man happy, but you wasn't happy your damn self.
And I was willing to stand with him.
You were.
Through his trauma.
And you probably would have.
Oh, I would have.
If you didn't have a mama you had.
Yeah, the mother, the strength. And then plus also, his decision made me make a decision. If that makes sense.
No, he was making those decisions a long time ago.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking
I'm
about...
going to give you just a real quick therapy session. He was making the same decisions. At the end of the day, it takes someone to see the trauma, to know how to break it down in the spirit, so your eyes will be enlightened to the truth and escape trauma, only for you to sit here right now and become healed. Don't get it twisted, because we ain't going to lie to the people. Because at the end of the day, the first bill I had to pay, a nigga laying up in the bed, let me knew your ass was still traumatized. Because you didn't come from who you come from and who you come through. And it's not knocking. It's just a whole lot of us out there that's like that, which is why healing is so important. And that was not your daddy issues. That was the trauma. Is he going to leave me?
Yeah.
And is he going to leave me? Because you was traumatized.
Yeah. I was just telling a friend that the other day, we were talking and he was explaining to me how one of his, women, he was like, I know you all help women and you help them heal and all this different stuff. And he said, it's one particular, person or friend that I have. And, she's with a gentleman who, she feels demoralized during sex because he only wants to have sex with her, anal, right? And he was in jail for 6 years. And I was like, hold up, scale back. Let's stop. Let's park it there. And so, he was like, anybody would know common sense as a man that I'm telling her, like, there's something detrimental in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I don't know the past, but, we got all these theories and stereotypes of what happens in prison. But I said, regardless of what you say, I said, there are some times where women accept certain pain in relationships, not because of they're trying to change that man, but because they are so arrested in their soul and they're so inflicted based upon trauma that she's purposely putting herself in that pain despite whatever's happening. I said, you could tell her whatever you want to say over and over and over again. I said, but until she makes a choice, I said, because you know what he gonna do? He gonna go and go find another person who's gonna accept the same thing. I said, but we inflict certain pain upon ourselves because of daddy trauma that makes us feel not valuable, not good enough. I said, what woman wants to constantly put herself in that predicament? I said, and truth is, everyone knows common sense. You was in prison. That's all you want. Come on now. But because I'm so emotionally traumatized, because I'm so much in a pain and I can't see truth, I purposely put myself in that. And I said, hey, you're a good friend. I said, to talk about it over and over again, because you know what I'll do? I said, I'll walk away and let her continue to be in that situation
And-
until she's sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I said, because that's what deep trauma does.
And then also she has to deal with it because, too, for her to still go through that pain, because that's one thing a family member told me with Christina. They was like, do you know who you are, where you come from? And I was like, it was like ding, ding, ding. But that's where also healing comes from, or healing takes place, because of the simple fact for her to go through that, it's a scarcity of men out here. So we feel like as women, we got to go through certain stuff or certain shit because we don't want that man to leave us. But then also that's where healing come from. Like me, I'm at the point right now, I'm okay with being single. Like I'm okay because of the simple fact, one, I don't want to deal with your shit and your issues. But then two, I value me and I know who I am.
And healing has to take place because
Exactly.
You say that out your mouth, but it ain't true. Because you still, out of your abandonment, the trauma of your abandonment, you still thirst and put up with stuff that you don't need to put up with. You can't see it. That's why healing is so important, because it enlightens you to the truth.
Yeah.
But based upon what you were saying, we can want the love of our Father
Yeah.
so deeply rooted
Correct.
that I will take the pain of somebody fucking me in my ass. 'Cause ain't nobody gonna tell me that stuff ain't gonna hurt.
Shit. I was like, look at here. But the reality is, I mean, like, well, the biggest thing was that I understood where they were coming from. No, I've never experienced that, in my life. But I understand what pain can do to blind you to be able to accept certain pain on yourself, and only healing can take you out of that.
Only because
healing
you
can cause
can
you to
become,
stand up in your
because
truth.
and there's so many fatherless
Yes.
daughters. And deep down in your soul, you just want the love of your father. But we put up this guard and we put up this shield like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
But you will take that type of traumatic pain and make it your norm.
Yeah. And as a person, not as a man, let me just say, not being able to fathom and understand. I said that is why you all often get in certain relationships, because you can't comprehend the level of trauma that a woman could really carry that cause her to inflict certain things. And I said, it's not that I'm being cold-hearted. I said, but at the end of the day, only healing can bring her up out of that. Only healing can bring her
and
up out of
facing
that.
the truth.
To face the truth, to
face the
stand up in
truth.
her own self and see her own self, see her own value. I said, so you could sound like a broken record over and over and over again. I said, but if I didn't have healing, I'd be accepting the same thing.
And that's why healing, in closing, and that's why healing is important, because I had a man tell me, when it came to dating me, he was like, Allison, I wouldn't date you. And I said, why? He said, because you have a father. We go after women who don't have fathers.
But there's also a spiritual force to that too.
Yeah.
Because y'all know I coach women all across this globe. And I've heard masses of stories. And one woman I have in mind out of many, her father is very present in her life. And she took that type of stuff regularly that you're talking about. Now, goes back to my point in closing, is that father present can still have causes trauma. Because just because you present don't mean you are present. Just because you are there don't mean you are available for that daughter to get from you what she needs. So she still was taking that type of sexual pain regularly, and the father was very present in her life. Sometimes we misconstrue issues for trauma because we don't recognize how deeply rooted we are thirsting for the love of a father. That's it.